Hello, my name is Gia Wilkerson, and I am with the Maryland Insurance Administration. For those of you that may be unfamiliar with us, we are the state agency that regulates the insurance industry here in the state of Maryland. For a list of all that we do to assist Maryland consumers, please reference the slide that is displayed on the screen. Welcome to today's Lunch with Mia, what to do if you are facing eviction or foreclosure. When talking about home ownership and renting, we want to make sure you are aware of the resources that are available to you. So for today's event, we brought together different agencies to help homeowners and renters understand eviction and foreclosure, as well as what tax credit programs are available to homeowners and renters. Today, we are joined by the following agencies: Live Baltimore, Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs, Maryland Office of the Attorney General, and Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Before we get started, we just want to take a quick poll to see how we all got here today. If you are calling in, you may not be able to participate in the poll, and that's okay. You can just put it in the chat box. If you don't see the poll on your screen, again, you can also put that in the chat box as well. So we'll take a few minutes just to do the chat. Okay, so it looks like most of us got here today by way of email. Next, a few housekeeping rules. This event is being recorded. We ask that you leave phones and computers on mute for the duration of this event. If you are not presenting, it would be great if you could keep your camera off. If you have questions for today's speakers, please use the chat box and make sure your questions are sent to everyone and not just the speaker or host, and we will save the questions for the end. Unfortunately, the Maryland Department of Veteran Affairs was unable to join us today. If you need to reach them, their contact information is displayed here on the screen. The information will also be displayed at the end if you are unable to capture it now. And now for our first presenter, we have Mr. Scott Seraphin from Live Baltimore.
Thank you, Gia. Hi, everybody. Live Baltimore is the nonprofit agency in Baltimore City. We are here to increase population in Baltimore within the city by retaining and recruiting residents. This is a sample of a presentation that I give every couple of weeks or so. This is all going to be basically about property tax credits, but I also do a number of classes on down payment assistance and grants that are available for that kind of thing. But today, all I'm talking about specifically is property tax credits. The first one is easily the most popular and well-known program throughout the state of Maryland. It's called the Homestead Property Tax Credit. This is specifically for any homeowners who own their home and are living in it. So you have to be an owner-occupied homeowner in the state of Maryland. And what this does is every 2 to 3 years, the state will reassess every property. And on many occasions, your tax assessment can increase during that new assessment. Without having the homestead property tax credit, whatever the new amount is what you are going to have to pay for. So if you do own your own home, if it's a primary residence and you do not have this credit on here, you should immediately apply through the state's website so that in the event your property tax assessment increases, it will be capped at a certain percentage point. So in Baltimore City specifically, that increase will never be more than 4%. I'm not entirely sure what the rest of the counties are, but it'd probably be pretty similar. So basically, if you own your own home right now, if you're living in it, it's your primary residence, you should definitely apply for the homestead property tax credit. You can check on the State Department and Assessments, State Departments of Assessments and Taxation's SDAT's websites to find out if you have it or not. Next slide. Specifically, if you own your home in Baltimore City, You're going to definitely want to have the homestead tax credit on it, the previous slide that I just showed, because in Baltimore City, anybody that has a homestead tax credit is also awarded the targeted homeowners tax credit. This is a specific to Baltimore City program, which reduces property taxes by a set amount for only owner occupied houses. So it appears as a special credit on your bill. You don't have to apply for it or anything like that. It's just if you have the homestead property tax credit, you will automatically receive the targeted homeowners tax credit in Baltimore City. I think my assessment's probably about a $250,000 assessment. It gets me about $500 to $600 off every year, this targeted homeowners tax credit. Next one. This next one is not to be confused with the targeted homeowners tax credit. This is a totally separate thing. It's called the Maryland Homeowners Property Tax Credit. I wasn't around when they named all of these so similar to each other, but the Maryland Homeowners Property Tax Credit is income restricted. It is specifically for households that are making less than $60,000. It is a flat tax credit. This is something that you have to apply for every year by September 1st. It is in addition to the homestead tax credit as well, but this is specifically for those lower to moderate income families and lower to moderate income households to help alleviate the tax bill burden. So there is a chart up on Live Baltimore's website to see what the actual tax credit would be based on your income. But if you're making less than $60,000 in your household, this is one that you should definitely apply for. It is a big credit back and will help you substantially with your monthly payments. CHAP tax credit, I'm going to go a little quickly through these next ones. CHAP is a Baltimore City specific program where if you are renovating or doing any significant repairs to your property in accordance with historic guidelines, this 10-year tax credit will essentially rebate you whatever the new tax bill is to paying the original tax bill. So in my example on the screen, I have kind of a large scale example here, but if your tax bill is $5,000 annually, you put in a substantial renovation to your property that has increased your tax bill. For the next 10 years, though, you will get a credit of what that difference is. This is a egregious example here. It's a very high level one, but for the most part, I'm also seeing these, for $500 tax bills annually, and then you renovate, maybe you put 50 grand into it and now you've got a $2,000 tax bill. You'll still pay that original $500 tax bill. So that's CHAP property tax credit, Baltimore City only. Maryland Historic Revitalization, similar to CHAP, they also provide an income tax rebate. So this isn't not property tax related. This has nothing to do with your mortgage or anything like that. But if you've done any significant work to your house and it is in a historic district, many are on the National Registry. There's a whole boatload of areas throughout Maryland, mainly in Baltimore City, though. But what this will do is give you a 20% rebate on any renovations that you've done to your property, as long as they're within historic guidelines. Any public safety officers, so anybody that's a firefighter, EMT, law enforcement, corrections officers, any single person that owns their home and fits in one of those categories. This is Baltimore City specific, this one. If you own your home in Baltimore City, you can get a flat $2,500 credit off every year. You have to reapply for it in addition to your homestead tax credit, the first one I mentioned, and the homeowner's tax credit as well. New construction. In the world of new construction, when you are getting a mortgage, they will base your tax payments on a hypothetical amount because typically your property has not been assessed yet. So what happens is essentially you're going to be phased into the full tax amount. So if anybody is interested in a new construction build, there is a program in Baltimore City only that allows you to pay 50% of your tax bill the first year, 60% the second, so on and so forth, until in that sixth year, you're actually going to pay for your full tax bill. Along those same lines, if you are doing work on a vacant property, or if you're purchasing a formerly vacant property, that's not necessarily new construction, they have also added this vacant dwelling property tax credit as well. It's the same exact thing as new construction, except just for folks that are doing significant renovations. 5-year phasing. And then lastly, for me, the Maryland Renters Tax Credit. This is a specific tax credit for anybody renting in the state of Maryland that is over the age of 60, or for those people that are renting and are 100% disabled. This is up to $1,000 credit that you can get. I believe it's in the form of an income tax rebate. So every time you file your tax returns, you can plug this in, and it's based on your total income, and then you should get at least $1,000 back, or up to $1,000 back in the form of an income tax credit. So I believe that was all I have in terms of slides, but you can also find more of that information up on our website, livebaltimore.com. There are specific cards that we have available if you want to read more about that, and I'll have my information up on the screen as well, and I'll be around to answer any questions afterwards.
Thank you, Scott, for that great information. Up next, we will have Ms. Alyssa Braylove from the Maryland Office of the Attorney General.
Hi, and thanks for having me here today. I am Elisa Braylove-Scher with the Consumer Protection Division, and I've been asked today to speak about residential eviction resources. Next slide, please. So the first thing that we like to make sure everybody understands is that eviction is a legal process. That means it must take place through the courthouse. A landlord can't just tell you that you have to move, change your locks, or put your belongings out on the street. They do have to go through a court process. And the details of that depend on the type of eviction that you are going through. So there are 3 primary types that we see. There is a failure to pay rent, there is breach of lease, and there is tenant holding over. Next slide, please. And those differ in that there's a different amount of notice that has to be given. So a failure to pay rent case is pretty straightforward. You've, for some reason, fallen behind on your rent. Doesn't matter why, but you're behind on your rent. And in those situations, a landlord is required to give you 10 days written notice before they go ahead and file in court. In a breach of lease action, it is 30 days written notice in general, or 14 days notice for clear and imminent danger. So an example of a breach of lease could be maybe you have someone else living in the rental unit with you that's not on the lease, an unauthorized occupant, or you may have maybe broken one of the rules that is laid out in the lease. A tenant holding over action is one where someone has had a lease and they've been a tenant at a place for, for a particular amount of time. The lease has then expired and they have not renewed the lease. So they are a tenant holding over. And the amount of notice that's required for that will vary based on the length of the lease. Now, this notice that is given is done so that you as a tenant have an opportunity to correct whatever it is that the landlord is saying must be done, whether that means you have to catch up on the rent or fix whatever violation it is or move out in the allotted amount of time. And if you don't do those things, at that point, the landlord must file in court. Next, please. So if you get an eviction notice, if you remember nothing else from today, remember that you have to act immediately. Do not wait to ask for help. The sooner in the process you contact people for assistance, the easier it is for you to be able to get some form of assistance. In a failure to pay rent case, you're late on the rent, maybe you've lost your job, your hours are cut, whatever the case may be, you should try to apply for rental assistance. The number that I've provided here takes you, this is the statewide hotline that you can call, and they will get you to the resources in the county where you live. At this point, it varies based on where you are, whether there are funds that are available. There may be funds that come available down the line if it is not currently in place, but always try there first, see what you can work out. If you have a court date and it's soon, show up. This is your only chance to tell your side of the story. If you don't go, you will most likely have a default judgment against you, and that will be pretty much the end of things. You may have options for appeal, but this is the point. You want to make sure you are going. And if you have a court date coming up, it's not right away, look for a lawyer who can represent you. Next. So having an attorney represent you in an eviction action substantially increases your likelihood of success. During the 2021 legislative session, Maryland General Assembly passed a law that made Maryland the second state to create a statewide access to counsel in evictions program. Currently in the General Assembly are bills related to funding for that, and there is a goal of full implementation of this program in 2025. So it is not yet fully active. It is slowly rolling out as the funding becomes available and as the exact terms are decided upon. Next, please. So according to a recent report from the Attorney General's Access to Counsel in Evictions Task Force, there is a clear imbalance in rent court. More than 90% of landlords are represented by attorneys, and more than 90% of tenants are not. So when you hear that, you can realize just how important it is to have a lawyer representing you whenever possible in one of these cases. We have put together, and this is available on our website as well, a few different options for contacting different service providers to get legal assistance. The first is the Maryland Legal Aid Bureau. They have local offices throughout the state, and we've provided the website here, so you can reach out and get the phone number for the location closest to where you live. Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Service is another resource. Next slide, please. And we run through some other options here. We have the Public Justice Center. This serves primarily the Baltimore area. The Homeless Persons Representation Project, which I believe is also mostly the Baltimore area. Next slide, please. And then we have in Prince George's County, there's the Community Legal Services. And over on the Eastern Shore, we have Midshore Pro Bono. Next slide, please. If you are going to represent yourself because you're unable to secure counsel, we suggest reaching out to the Maryland Court Self-Help Center. They are staffed by attorneys, and they can provide some guidance in how best to represent yourself. They can't represent you, but they can assist you with the process of representing yourself. So they have a phone number where you can speak with someone. You can go to their website and do a live chat. And they are also available in person at many courthouses around the state. Next slide, please. So my division, the Consumer Protection Division with the Maryland Office of the Attorney General, also handles complaints from landlords against tenants. And we encourage people to file a complaint with us. We can mediate between tenants and landlords. Mediation is a voluntary process, and it's meant to take place before a matter goes to court. So it is best if you're going to reach out to us to do that before the landlord files an action in court. We can mediate for different things, whether it's a payment plan if you're late on your rent, maybe more time to vacate if that's what you need. And next slide, please. We've provided our contact information here. We have our consumer hotline, which is open weekdays from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And you can call in and speak with a live person who can answer questions, whether it's about a landlord-tenant issue or a dispute you may be having with a business. We can mediate complaints. We take all of our complaints in writing, and you can file on our website. We also have a health education and advocacy unit, and they're available to assist with medical billing, health insurance problems, and things of that nature. So their information is here as well. They also have a hotline and a website. We've also provided our Spanish hotline. So if you're a Spanish speaker and would like to speak with someone in Spanish, you can reach us here. Next slide, please. And for more information about any of these eviction resources or other assistance, or to file a complaint, you can visit our website at www.marylandattorneygeneral.gov. And I hope that gives just a good overview, and I'm available for questions later on if anybody has questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. And our final presenter today will be Ms. Brittany Holden from the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Brittany Holden, and I'm one of the community engagement liaisons for the Department of Housing and Community Development. And so today I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the Homeowner Assistance Fund, as well as any housing counseling programs that we have. So let's start off and to talk about what the Maryland Homeowner Assistance Fund program is. This program, it's designed to help homeowners that are experiencing financial hardship after January 21st of 2020. The fund is able to help homeowners that are struggling with their mortgage payments or other housing related costs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it offers support for mortgage relief, weatherization, housing counseling, and legal services. Next slide, please. There are two types of financial assistance. So we have the Maryland Homeowner Assistance Fund loan and then the Maryland Homeowner Assistance Fund grant. So I'm going to talk to you about the Homeowner Assistance Fund loan first. So the loan is designed to offer a one-time payment for a delinquent mortgage amount. It's not limited to adding additional funds to facilitate a principal curtailment or rate reduction. Now, a principal curtailment, that's the process of applying funds to reduce the existing unpaid principal balance of a first mortgage loan. And rate reduction is where the interest rate may not rise, but may decline. Next slide, please. All right, so if you have experienced financial hardship after January 21st, 2020, you may be eligible for the Homeowner Assistance Fund loan. Also, you must fall within 150% of area median income, and you must be a Maryland homeowner residing in your primary residence, and you must provide evidence of home ownership by the deed of trust. So this is a still shot here of the income guidelines for the loan. So that lets you know, like I said, you have to fall within 150% of the area median income. So you would locate your county on the far left, and based off of how many people reside in your household, that would tell you what your income limit is. Next slide, please. So the terms for the loan, there must be a recorded lien. The max amount for the loan is $30,000. There's a 0% interest rate. Deferred payments for the life of the first mortgage. The payment is due in full when the first mortgage ends. So whether it's a repayment, refinance, transfer, or sale. And repayment is subject to review, and the department may, based on your situation and needs at the time of repayment, they may either require payment in full, establish a payment plan, or allow full or partial forgiveness. Again, this is subject to review by the department. Next slide, please. So the Homeowner Assistance Fund grant. So this is designed to avoid imminent displacement within 90 days due to, but not limited to, the following: tax delinquency, chattel loan or land lease delinquency, homeowners association fee, condominium association fee delinquency, or mortgage delinquency. So for this one, again, you must be eligible. In order to be eligible, you must have experienced financial hardship after January 21st of 2020. With this one, you must fall within 100% of the area median income. Maryland homeowners must be residing in their primary residence, and you must provide evidence of home ownership by the deed of trust. This is a shot of the income guidelines for the grant. So again, you fall within 100% of the area median income. You will locate your county. And again, based off of how many people live in your household, that would tell you what your income limit is. So with the grant, there's no instrument that needs to be recorded, but the max assistance is $10,000. Being that it is a grant, it does not require you to repay. Next slide. Okay, there we go. So if you have emergency home repairs, they do have the Maryland Homeowner Assistance Fund Whole Home Grant. The purpose of this grant is to help homeowners who have an emergency repair in their primary residence due to the financial impact of COVID-19. Without addressing these repairs, it will cause the homeowner to be involuntarily displaced from the property. Now, this grant is also capped at $10,000, and it's used to address any emergency repairs, including mold remediation, asbestos and lead paint removal, no heat or no air, electrical repairs, plumbing and septic repairs, and other structural and maintenance issues. So for this one, like the rest of them, you must have experienced financial hardship after January 21st of 2020. You must fall within 150% of the area median income. Maryland homeowners residing in their primary residence. You must provide evidence of home ownership by the deed of trust, and you must provide a work proposal for the emergency repaired by a licensed and insured Maryland home improvement contractor with appropriate photos or drawings. Again, this is a grant, so like I stated before, grants do not need to be repaid, and the max assistance amount is $10,000. So I'm going to give you 3 ways to get help with this. So you can visit the website. The website is homeownerassistance.maryland.gov. If you need application support, they do have a call center available to you, and that number is 833-676-0119. And they have a hotline for the homeowner assistance, and that number is 1-877-462-7555. Now, if you're interested in the Maryland Homeowner Assistance Fund Whole Home Grant, again, that's for emergency repairs. You can give them a call at 1-877-568-6105, or you can email them at rehab.hafapplications@maryland.gov. So for, we have the Maryland Housing Counseling Fund program. So I'm going to go ahead and skip through this slide here. We're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to keep going, because this is strictly for housing counseling agencies. It's a fund for them. But being that we don't have anyone, here that would be in need for this, we're going to go to the next slide after that as well. And one more time. Okay. And so one more, I'm sorry. So here we go, the Housing Counseling and Legal Services Network. So as a Maryland homeowner, you are strongly encouraged to contact a HUD-approved housing counseling agency before entering into any agreements with anyone in connection with the foreclosure of your home. These government agencies and nonprofit organizations can provide you with free and objective information about your options, and you're going to want to contact a housing counseling agency that serves the county where your home is located. Next slide, please. If your mortgage company has filed a foreclosure action in court, you have a short window of time to act to prevent foreclosure. So if you received a notice of intent to foreclosure or an order to docket from the courts, you want to consider contacting a nonprofit legal services provider as soon as possible. And again, you're going to want to contact a provider that serves the area where your home is located. So for renters, they have the Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act, which provides most renters with certain rights during foreclosure, namely that most leases will survive foreclosure and the foreclosure sale purchaser becomes the new landlord. So most renters have the right to continue renting the property for the rest of their lease term, or at least to receive a 90-day notice to vacate after the foreclosure process is complete. Next slide, please. We do recommend that you seek legal advice to determine whether you have these legal rights under the new law. So if you're facing eviction or need advice on your rights as a tenant, they do have contact information here. So for the entire state, you can contact the Public Justice Center. They do have a website, which is www.publicjustice.org, or you can give them a call at 410-625-9409. Anyone in Allegheny County, you can contact Allegheny Law. Their number is 301-722-3390. For Montgomery County, you have the Montgomery Bar Association. Their contact is 301-424-3454. In Prince George's County, you have Community Legal Services, and their contact is 240-391-6370. Now, if you're in need of emergency housing or assistance through social services, then you want to contact United Way on the help hotline at 211. Or, for the greater Baltimore area, you can call 410-685-0525. And if you're outside of Baltimore, but still within the state of Maryland, then you want to call 1-800-492-0618. Next slide, please. So emergency rental assistance. So the Department of Housing and Community Development, we began administering federal emergency funding in light of the pandemic. The application process does vary depending on the county of residence. There are some counties that are closed right now as far as taking applications. But if you want to find out more information about it, you can visit dhcd.maryland.gov. Also, we have a housing search tool, and it's really good. It allows you to browse or even post listings of Maryland apartments and homes that are for rent. It's free for everyone, and that website is www.mdhousingsearch.org. Next slide, please. You can connect with us. Again, our website is dhcd.maryland.gov, where you can find all the information I discussed today. On Facebook, if you have social media, our handle on Facebook is @Maryland Housing, and Twitter, we are @MD Housing. And that is all I have today for my portion.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for all of that wonderful information. Again, for those of you that are just joining us, the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs was unable to join us today, but their contact information is visible on the screen. At this time, we will begin the Q&A portion of today's event. So if you have any questions, please place them in the chat box. And the first question that we have today: does Maryland Court Self-Help Assistance assist tenants and landlords, or just tenants? I believe this question is for Elisa.
Yes, so they only help individuals. They're not able to help a landlord or business. It is solely for the assistance of individual people.
And another question for you as well. A landlord has the right to deny to rent an apartment to a person who has combined income and one of the applicants has an unemployment assistance. I guess the question is, does the landlord have the right to do that?
So no, under Maryland law, a landlord cannot discriminate based on the source of income. So it doesn't matter if someone is receiving some sort of public benefit versus salary employment. As long as they have those funds coming in, a landlord cannot discriminate based on that.
Thank you. And if there are any more questions, please place them in the chat box at this time. I would also like to thank everyone that attended today's event. Thank you to all of our wonderful presenters. We will have a few additional events throughout the month of April. The next one will be held on Thursday, April 14th. We will have a listening session where we will discuss commercial insurance issues facing small businesses. Also on the same day, we will host a webinar on Insurance 101 for seniors. Then Tuesday, April 19th, we will have another webinar on what you need to know about annuities. Lastly, Thursday, April 28th, we will have another Lunch with Mia event. Ask the experts what you need to know about reducing your flood risk for your home, car, and business. You can also find out about more of our events on our website at www.insurance.maryland.gov. Feel free to follow us, check us out on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also sign up to receive information about our future presentations and events as well. And Joyce has put that information in the chat box. You can just click the link, it'll take you right to it. And this recording will be available on our website again within, I think, a few days. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. I guess we'll just give it a few minutes.
Are we going to get the slides with us?
I'm sorry, Ruth, I couldn't hear you. Say that one more time.
Are we going to have the slides mailed to us?
Based upon the way that you signed up for the presentation, if we have your email address, we will be able to email them to you. If not, the presentation will be available on our website within the next few days.
Thank you.
And if you have any feedback for our presenters today, or just the way that the event went today, we would like for you to complete our survey, which can also be found in the chat box. For those of you that may have not signed up via email, or we don't have your email information, feel free to send an email to Kiana Walton. That's KEJUANA.WALTON@maryland.gov, and Maryland is spelled out. Her email address is also listed in the chat box. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all for spending time with us today. We greatly appreciate it, and we hope to see you at our next event. Oh, one last question. Does a tenant on a tax credit lease have a right to have a copy of all documents signed for the lease process? Scott?
I'm not sure about that one. I don't know exactly what a tax credit lease even is. So if anybody else has the answer to that.
Okay.
If we're talking about the Maryland renters tax credits, yeah, you probably have the right to get all of the docs.
The copies of parts of the tax credit docs were denied.
Who's asking that? It's Anna. Anna, I'm gonna say, why don't you put my email in the chat? You can just follow up with me separately, and I'll do some digging on it for it, because I'm not sure.
Thanks, Scott. Are there any other questions? Okay, I think that's it. Again, thank you to all of our presenters. Thank you to all of our guests, and we hope to see you again on the 14th. Have a great day.